Well, let's start with why he appeared via video link. It's because he has been indicted as an alleged war criminal by the International Criminal Court. Specifically, the allegation is the deportation and abduction of children from Ukraine to Russia. Now, South Africa, where this BRICS conference is being hosted, they are a signatory to the ICC treaty, which means if Putin landed in South Africa, they would be under obligation to arrest him and hand him over to the ICC. So that wasn't going to happen. So that's why Putin hasn't gone there, and that's why he's given two speeches now via video link. As to what he said, well, he's reheated a few old classic Putin tropes about the war in Ukraine and who started it. He said, "Our actions in Ukraine are dictated by only one thing: to end the war unleashed by the West and their satellites in Ukraine against the people living in the Donbass." He said, "We thank our colleagues within BRICS that take an active part in the attempts to put an end to this situation and to ensure a just settlement by peaceful means." Now, this is classic Putin propaganda. It is something that he has repeated a number of times now. He's been blaming the West for the armed conflict in eastern Ukraine since 2014. We should all be reminded, though, that it was him who illegally annexed Crimea back in 2014 and, of course, supplied arms and men to the separatists involved in fighting in the Donbass from 2014 onwards as well. So it is a bit much for him to suggest that it was somehow the West who started this war when he was involved in the very beginning back in 2014 and, of course, then launched a full-scale invasion in February 21. February last year. So that is what he was, part of what he was saying today at the BRICS conference.
And did he have much to say about BRICS, the bloc itself, and what it stands for?
He did take that up, actually. He said that BRICS stands for a multipolar world order that is equitable and built on international law and the principles of the UN Charter. He said some countries promote their hegemony, exceptionality, and their policy of ongoing colonialism and also neo-colonialism. And I suspect this might be a little bit hard to digest if you're living in Ukraine at the moment as well. Once again, this is a man who's been indicted on war crimes. And when it comes to colonialism, of course, he's famously, not so long ago, compared himself with Peter the Great and their shared historic mission to seize lands that Russia believes belongs to them. This is a man who doesn't believe that Ukraine has a right to exist. So I suspect that some of those comments won't be looked on very well back in Ukraine.
Meanwhile, back in Russia, there are reports a top general has been removed. What do we know about this?
Yeah, this is General Surovikin, sometimes known as General Armageddon. He got that title from some of the campaigns he was involved in Syria. He had a title which was like the commander of aerospace forces, but he'd previously been a general in the field, a commander in the field in Ukraine. And Surovikin actually is responsible for, in a large part, the difficulties that Ukraine is having right now. Some people refer to it as a Surovikin line. This is the front line where just behind it, all those mines and ditches have been laid, and it's making it quite difficult for Ukraine to get through that front line. So he was removed from that post, and now he's been removed from another one. And he has not been seen in public since the Wagner mutiny a while back now, and it was thought that he was a close ally of Prigozhin. And that perhaps he had some knowledge of this proposed mutiny, which of course saw some of the Wagner troops heading towards Moscow before the whole thing was called off. So there's been a couple of reports, one from a journalist who was involved with the very famous Russian Moscow radio station, Echo of Moscow, and it's been confirmed by state media there now that Surovikin has been removed from his post, and we still have not seen him in public as yet.
Steve, thanks for that update.